Our two community members, those that have submitted before, we thank you all again. And Ms. Watkins will let the two new community members know that we've requested them on our committee. And then for the next meeting, we'll be able to include them.
Perfect. Great.
That being said, we can go on to the next, which is review Board of Education goal on communication. This was something that we were told when we did the board goals that maybe communicate, because it is a communication goal, we should talk about it in our committee before we send it over to Peggy's committee that she chairs on policy. This is just something, over time, we all get it, trying to establish a better form of communication between not just the board and the district and the board and the community, but, vice versa. And also so that everybody feels like they're heard. I think that's something that, I don't know, Peggy and I know Darren and Amy have heard it a million times in the past is, we just want to feel like we're being heard. So that's what we're trying to do. So does anybody have any suggestions on how we could move this over to Peggy's committee quicker?
Well, I'm not sure it goes to policy. I think it just goes to the administration because it's a board goal rather than policy. But I do think that since Darren and Amy actually are district employees working on this and have to respond to community members, perhaps they might have suggestions of how it would make it easier for them to be able to fulfill this goal and respond within 72 hours. Because I realize they have, especially right now with the current situation, they're flooded with work. But is there something, is there a
procedure,
that sort of system or improved technological communication that might help you if we had it? Or
so I do want to just ask for just a little bit of clarity on it, in terms of what is meant by an acknowledgement. Thank you, we received it, like a personal touch. That's it.
And I will, you know what? Here, I'm gonna go out there and say that very recently, I can say that this has been addressed without pushing anything. It more recently has been much better in communications regarding feedback that I've heard. So when people submit questions, submit emails, they are being acknowledged. And that's the biggest thing. It's not so much that I have to have an answer, but a lot of times what was happening is people were sending emails.
To whom?
And it was just, there was nothing. It was just like, it was just sitting out in space. Nobody knew if we were ever being seen, who they were supposed to talk to next, what was supposed to happen. It was almost like it was thrown out in abyss.
Well, to which inbox, Murray?
It would have been to certain personnel.
No names.
Yeah. Well, okay. So it's not like a.
It has
not like a community communications type.
It was something that where it was being brought up very frequently that it was. People are just not like, if you were sending an email and
if
it
it's
went
an individual, that's fine. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. It has improved dramatically lately. And I have to say, everybody is saying how the communication from the district, even if it's thank you for your email, we'll get back to you. We're looking into it. Now people are getting those. And that was something that, so I don't know. It's almost like it corrected itself recently.
Yeah, I was just wondering if, because I know myself, I get so much flooded into my email box, and to say nothing of the text messages and the phone calls and a great deal of it is junk, and other is repetitious people all reply all to something else where they really
Right.
didn't have to. And so, sometimes things get lost. And I was wondering if the reason that we weren't getting answers quickly, and apparently it seems to have improved greatly, was because you were so overwhelmed by these other things, and perhaps we needed some sort of and the technological solutions. Clearly, I don't. To make it, to make your, to prioritize what's coming to you, so you can see if it's a question from the, from the community, or from a parent, from a board member, or another staff member, or whether it's just somebody trying to sell you something, or somebody just flooding your email box by replying to the whole world. So we were wondering if there were things that could make your jobs easier.
Right.
Gotcha. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, you got to be diligent, and you got to, if it's coming to your attention, you got to act on it. And, people, make mistakes sometimes, and sometimes things get lost, but I would hope that the majority of responses are being sent out, and it sounds like it's better, which is good. But
I think it's dramatic. I would say it's done a 180.
Okay.
As of late, and I can honestly say I've never had this issue with Ms. Watkins.
Thanks.
I can guarantee you, in the 4 or 5 years that I have known Amy, every single time I send her an email, within 24, 48 hours, she gets back to me, even if it's you know what, I'm working on that, I didn't forget you, kind of thing. So she's always done it. Actually, Darren's always done that as well. I can't say that. Darren's always.
I learned it from Amy. That's why.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. But I would say maybe this is something we can relook at later on, because I really want to say it almost feels like it's corrected itself recently.
Okay.
Good.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, because I have to say the perspective of the community for the district itself has definitely had a better upswing. I mean, you're always going to have those that are not happy about something, but definitely it has improved quite dramatically.
Terrific.
So, and that's to the great work of all of you guys.
Well,
that being said, can we say we'll table this until maybe later on to just double check and see how things are going? John?
Could I just ask one question before we table it, Marie?
Sure.
So this policy that was set by the board at a time when this was an issue, has Mr. Lokema or Dr. Watkins, has this been distributed out to district staff as a policy?
A board goal. It's a board goal. It's a Board of Education goal. It's not a policy.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. But has the fact that the board has set this as a goal, has that been communicated out to staff as of this point, or is that not the usual path for board goals that impact basically everybody in the district that has an email address?
Yeah. So no, it hasn't, and 2, no, it's not usually. So it's not that's not usually the path, and I would defer to Alberta Pedro in terms of what the normal process is. I believe board goals are definitely posted, but I don't know the workflow in terms of, depending on what the target is, or the goal of the purpose of the goal, what the normal communication path is. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay.
I don't know.
Thank you for acknowledging my question in 72 seconds or less.
Well, that would seem to be something that board goals should certainly be the entire district should be aware of them, because actually we spend a lot of time on formulating those board goals each summer. Sometimes it continues over into the fall. And, if it turns out that one of our goals is unrealistic, or the staff doesn't really feel there was much point to it, I'm sure we would all appreciate the feedback, because when we set goals, they're an annual event that every year the board sets goals. Is something we kind of like the district to concentrate on this year. Another one this year was the Cultural Responsiveness Committee, to address that issue. And it would be good to know that everybody who works at the district and parents and community are all aware of that it exists. And as I said, they certainly not handed down from Mount Sinai. So if there's something wrong with them or you feel they're inappropriate, I hope we do get feedback. But it would be good if everybody at least knows that they exist.
I kind of remember an email that Alberta sent out about the goals. I thought it came up in one of the WCSD Globals. The board passed this last night, like she does with the policies. I want to say I remember seeing something that she just kind of went out in one of those blast emails.
Yeah, all that could very well be true. I just don't recall it off the top of my head.
We do get a lot of them, and sometimes, but for some reason I do kind of remember that it was in one of the email blasts. Last night it was like after one of the board meetings, she sends out anything that was approved over. And I think it was in the email blast. So kind of, it does get sent out to the district.
Yeah.
And whether everybody reads them or not, I don't know, but I do know she sends them out. So, but I would say we can revisit this, maybe in the spring, hopefully in person. And hopefully it won't be an issue then either. And we can just say, yay, you guys did it without even anything being done. It's great.
Yes. Right? And perhaps without even knowing it was a board goal.
Right. I know. Right. That being said, Miss Kellen.
I'm working on them. I've been very busy with a number of different things from other organizations, as well as dealing with things, for the holidays, as so many of us do. But I am working on them, and at the January meeting, I hope to have at least one or two of them all ready, because I like to work on it and look at it again and see, tweak it again after looking at it and coming back to it. And then I'm hoping to share them with Mr. Lokema, so he can give me his feedback, since he was working with me on it. So.
Okay.
But I know he's been busy too. So,
yes. By the way, thank you very much, Mr. Lokema. I have to say you're doing an amazing job with your help on the contact tracing and stuff. And that is another communication thing that you've been doing very well. So I thank you again for all your
team effort, for sure.
Your efforts on everything. You've been called to put on 12 hats, just like Ms. Watkins has, and you guys have definitely pulled it off, and we do appreciate. I know board members here will definitely say we totally appreciate you guys.
Yes, I must say the whole, the entire administration, faculty, and staff have been so wonderful, stepping up and doing jobs outside of their assignments, and going the extra mile. And this is such a difficult situation, and there's so many little things which as outsiders look at it, they can't even imagine what they are until you go into the details and see what you have to do to make it work for our students. And we so appreciate it, because you didn't sign on for quite these crises. But,
no, you didn't.
So it's great.
Yes. So, I mean, if you want to send me one or two of the documents, I'll, start looking at some of them too. Maybe we can get through a couple extra. Ones that Miss Kellen's not working on. I have no problem to look at some as well.
Well, I think the whole committee is gonna, we'll bring it back to the whole committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only a couple of them are rather lengthy. I think those.
Yes,
are the
the idea was to make it a little simpler so that the parent who's trying to get dinner and has handed a sheaf of forms to sign actually has a chance to look at them and digest them rather than.
The bulk of them are short. There's a couple of them are very lengthy.
Right.
I'm sorry for talking over people. The fact that several forms that were required at the beginning of the school year were able to be completed electronically this year for people that have access to that was a big plus. So thank you.
I think we're looking into that for next year, aren't we, guys?
Yeah, it was very well received.
The problem we had a couple years ago, we tried it too, was then we had a really hard time getting people to return the forms, or actually do them. Now it seems different because it's more of a natural process because everything's coming so electronic. So maybe if the momentum now is in our favor and we can continue and not look back and use paper like we had in the past, that'd be great.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
I know there's a couple of forms that were required to do on paper. Even I think there's one or two of them, like the school lunch form, I think has to be paper.
Oh, that one's like a triplicate application. Yeah, like those.
Yeah, there's a couple that are like the emergency fill out form. I think
emergency cards.
Fine, but there's still stuff to do, like a couple of hard copies.
If we can make the stack go from this to like that, that'd be good.
Yes.
Yeah, I think every parent would love that.
Right. Yeah.
And Mr. Lokema?
Yes.
Assuming that at some point in time in the near future, I know that when that thick packet was handed out, a lot of teachers just made it part of, hey, that's your first night's homework, and it's part of your responsibility. I know that she's not watching, so I can say this, but I know my middle daughter was quite surprised when she got dinged on her second day of junior high school, but it became very clear to her that she was not in elementary school anymore when she got dinged for not having her homework because she dropped the forms on one of our laps and said, here, these are for you. And we did what sometimes parents do and went, oh, thank you, and put it down over there. And she didn't show up with them. So, that could be a strategy that electronically they need to be submitted, and it gets assigned to the students.
Yeah, and I would argue the teacher should have given you the failing mark for that homework then, Mr. Morgan.
That's not unfair.
Yes.
and the only reason that
my GPA is already set in stone, so
I mean, it is it kind of gives the kid a responsibility, make sure it gets done. But like when we were originally talking and we did the checklist, which I think that came out great too, was you've got 4 kids in school, 2 in elementary, 1 in middle school, 1 in high school. They all bring home that 1/2 inch to 1 inch thick packet. That's a lot for mom to fill out on that night and still get dinner on the table. Kids are running around the house going, oh my gosh, I got to see Johnny for the first time in 6 months, or, in 2 months. And this was going on, and trying to hear the first day stories and then trying to fill out 4 huge packets. I would not hold kids responsible. That's personally me, because you don't know how many kids they have at home.
Yeah.
So,
but
I don't really thought on that.
But if they're electronic, that makes it a lot simpler.
Oh, it makes it a lot easier, and a lot of it can get attached directly to our parent portal and stuff like that as well. So it's easy. It's in there. Some of these parents can get this done before school even starts on some of these forms.
And it will also help. Yes, some children are better at giving their parents forms than others. Our daughter was very good. Our son was terrible. And although he was a very good student and did all his homework, he didn't bother giving me anything unless I knew about it in advance. And he even said to me when he was in 6th grade, it was easier when my sister was in the same school. She took care of all those things. I did not find that a good excuse.
But he had learned good delegating skills.
Yeah, right. I said he's looking forward to a secretary, obviously, and a wife.
Just another option that we can consider. I know several years ago, to Darren's point, we weren't ready for it as a district, but Family ID, we have been using it more for many things just because of our current circumstance, whether it's picking up our students' photos. So more parents are in the system than they have been in the past. And that would allow us to collect that information to Marie's point, where you're not filling out the emergency card 6 times or 5 times, depending on how many kids. Your common information stays common. And then for each individual child, you would add it.
And
That's excellent.
Dr. Watkins, and does that also streamline the reporting on who has completed it and who has not?
Yes, you can run a report by building.
Oh, that makes it even easier too.
That would be good. If the parents have several children in the district and they could just fill out one set, that would be, as you said, electronically, and just do the extras for the individual ones. That makes it much easier for the parents. And, as long as you let the teachers know that it's been taken care of for that child, then they're win all around.
Yeah, I think it's something that I can look at with Mr. Lokema again, just to see the workflow and see if it is more realistic based on the number of parents that have registered.
Yeah. I think it would just, if we can streamline it, not just for the parents, but it streamlines for you guys. Let's face it, less papers is the best option to go 100% down the road.
Ecologically good too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Entries.
We're going to go green on this too, right?
Right.
Right.
That being said, I think we're good until January, and then we can look at some of the forms. If you guys are good with that, we can either do January or February, considering we have holidays and everything else. If you want to push it to the, say the first week of February, that's fine as well.
Either way, that's fine.
Okay.
So throw out some dates. We'll pick one that works.
Yeah, I can do a doodle and send it out to you.
Doodle. Yeah, because we want to.
I will include Gail and Crystal. I did want to just let you know, I don't need to take your time now, but the items that were in the minutes, I did address those. So the red global bar, that was updated, and the app matches with some of those highlights that you had asked for. So that was updated. So job openings is on there. The hybrid model application is on the mobile app. So if you see other things or you're hearing feedback, as always, just give me that feedback and I can make those corrections.
Yeah, no, I actually went through the district a couple times, and I went through all the different committees, everybody, and I sent out, requests to whoever was in charge of whatever committees. So all the committees are up to date. All the members are up to date across the board. And it looked like all the district stuff was up. And I do appreciate you guys fixing all the different stuff on the bar. It does make it a little easier. And also the app looks a lot cleaner. It looks like it got cleaned up a lot, and it looks good. The updates, the community updates are definitely being very well received lately. So thank you guys for that. And it just seems like it's, kind of started streamlining and really starting to flow nicer. And definitely a better feedback from public members that I've heard from.
Good.
Not as much negativity, and I love less negativity.
Don't we all?
So, that being said, I would want to wish everybody happy holidays, whether it's Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever you're celebrating. Have a great holiday.
Happy New Year.
That you're allowed to be around, and I'm sure everybody's going to be doing these kind of family meets for the rest of the season anyway. That being said, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Sounds great. All in favor? Yay.
Yay.
Everybody go off to your baking, Miss Watkins. I didn't bake it all this year. Nothing.
Oh, wow. You're definitely.
There's still time, Mrs. Johnson. There's still time.
Listen, I had no committees to bake for this year. It was horrible.
I haven't been baking for my departments either. So